Welcome. In today's video, let's see how to manipulate the data frames. So first, let me coin the vector name, which is a vector of strings John, Peter and Mark. And then I am coining another variable start date, which is a vector of strings dates which are in string format, and end date similarly a vector of dates which are in string format. Okay, so then I am forming the data frame using the function data dot frame, and I'm passing these three parameters name, start date and end date to this data dot frame, and that is stored in the variable service. So this service will have the data frame with the three columns name, start date and end date. So let me run these. So name is there, start date, end date, and then if you print service, see here you can see name, start date and end date, and the three values for the variables are listed down. So there are three rows in this data frame. Okay, so suppose if I want to add a new variable to this data frame service, I want to add a new variable called as period. So I'm using the dollar symbol to this service, and I'm assigning as dot date service dollar end date minus as dot date service dollar start date. So that is I am taking the start date from the service data frame and I'm converting that string into a date, and similarly I'm taking the end date from the service data frame, I'm converting that into a date since it is a string. So then I'm finding the difference between these two dates and I'm storing that in the variable period, and this variable period is now added to the service data frame. Okay, so let us see how it is executed. So now I am printing the service data frame. So the service data frame is having four columns name, start date, end date and period. Okay, so the period is now calculated by assigning the new variable service dollar period. Okay, the same thing can be achieved by using the with function. Okay, the with function will take the data frame name and the calculation for the new column, and that will be stored in the new column dollar period. Okay, so let me run this. So again the service has four columns name, start date, end date and period. The period is newly calculated using the with function. Okay, so suppose if you want to calculate more than one variable into a data frame, insert more than one variable into a data frame by calculating, we can use the within function. So this within function will take the data frame name as one parameter, and the next parameters will be the newly coined variables. Period is one column and high period is another column. Okay, so this period is calculated by subtracting the start date from the end date. Okay, and high period is calculated by the condition period greater than 2000. Suppose if the period is greater than 2000, this high period will have true value, otherwise it will have false value. So let me execute this and see. Okay, it is executed. Now I am printing service. See, now you have five columns in the service data frame name, start date, end date, period and high period. The high period is set to true for the values of the period greater than 2000. If it is less than 2000, it is set to false. Okay, so this is how we can use the function within. Okay, so the same thing can be achieved by using the function mutate, but this mutate is not in the base package, but it is there in the plyr package. Okay, so for that I'm invoking the library plyr. So then I'm using the mutate function, so which is same as the within function. So it is going to insert two new columns to service, the period and high period. Now I am displaying service. See, you can see the period and high period listed down using the mutate function. Okay, so this is how you can add new columns to the data frame. Okay, So now let us read a CSV file called as crimes.csv, which is stored in the D colon. Okay, so and I am storing that in the crime.data. So I'm running this. So the crime.data is now having the crimes.csv. So if you want to find the number of rows for this crime.data, you use nrow function. So I'm running this. The number of rows in the crime data is 65,000 and odd. Okay. So suppose if I want to find which are the records in crime.data which are not having missing values, then I have to use the complete dot classes cases function. I have to use the complete dot cases function to find out the records which are having which are not having missing values. Okay, so that will be stored in this complete variable. Okay, so if you list down this complete variable, it will show true for all the records which is not having missing value and false for the record which is having missing value. Suppose if you pass crime.data within bracket complete comma, so it means it is going to take all the rows which are not having missing values. Okay, so that you are going to find the number of rows which are not having missing values. So out of the 65,000 and odd records, 63,000 and odd records are not having missing values. Suppose if you want to clean the missing values, remove the records which are having missing values, you can use the function na.omit. Okay, so this na.omit will act upon this crime.data and it will clean it. It will remove all the missing data and that will be stored in clean.crime.data. Okay, so let me see this. Let me execute this. So now if you are finding nrow, so it is going to give the records which are not having missing values, which are not having missing values. So it is only having full complete data. Okay, so this crime.data again I'm reading and I'm going to find the column names using the call names function in crime.data. So it is having so many columns, like 17 columns, but I want to take only the first 6 columns. So I give 1:6 in the column part of the crime data. So now if I get the call names of crime.data 1, so it will only list the first 6 columns. It will only list the first 6 columns. So I haven't properly run this. So I'm running this. I'm finding the column names. Now it is only listing the first 6 columns. Okay, so you can fetch individual columns from a data set. Okay, and number of rows in the crime.data is 65,000 and odd. Suppose if you want to take only the first 10 rows, I give 1:10 here in crime.data for the rows, and I store that in crime.data too, and I print the number of rows in crime.data, so it is showing only 10. Okay, so now I am again creating a data frame which is called a service with the name, start date, end date, and it is stored in service. So service is printed. It is having 3 columns, name, start date and end date. Suppose if I want to order this data frame based on the column start date, I can use the order function. Okay, so this will order the order and it will store in the start date. Okay, the start date will have the order of the dates. Okay, so now I have to order the service data frame based on this start date. Okay, so how do I do this? And I store that in service.ordered. So now I display service.ordered. So earlier the date start date was not sorted, now it is sorted. So 1980 first, 1990 second and 1999 third. Okay, so we can order like this. Okay, so similarly we can use the function arrange to arrange based on a particular column, to sort or order based on a particular column. Okay, so this arrange is there in the library PLYR. Okay, so you have to invoke the PLYR library and then you have to use the arrange function to display So now I have arranged using the end date. Okay, so you can do it using any date. Okay, so today it's very useful. We have seen how to manipulate the data frame, how to add new column to a data frame using the with function, within function, mutate function, and how to find the number of rows, and how to omit the how to clean the data set which are having missing values, and how to omit the missing rows, and how to find the fetch the column names of a data frame, and how to eliminate particular columns from a data frame, and how to fetch particular rows from a data frame, and how to order based on a particular column in a data frame, and using order function, and also how to do the same thing using the arrange function. So these are the ones we have seen today. Hope it was a useful session. Thanks for your patience listening.